Alright, what's going on, Hex Press? Today, we got kind of a unique video, new series we're starting. Obviously, I'm Turner. You guys are familiar with me, but this is our lead personal trainer.
Yep.
Let him introduce himself.
My name is John. I'm a certified personal trainer with ISSA, and I've been a trainer for over a year now. Got great reviews from my clients, and happy to help you guys and whatever you need.
Alright, so today we're doing kind of a different style of video. We're starting off this series. We're going to be putting each chest exercise into a category based on tiers. So for me, my rankings are based on comfortability, 1, hypertrophy, obviously 2. The better an exercise is for muscle growth, the higher we'll be in the rankings. 3, just kind of based on how much I like to do it. How did you rank yours?
I think the first one is how effective it is, how much it's going to improve your health, improve your performance, and also comfortability. Make sure that you actually like what you're doing, know what you're doing, and actually feel it where you're trying to feel it. And number 3 is just how practical it is, how easy it is to set up.
So the tiers we have, obviously we have S tier. It's the best of the best, where legends are made. So basically the best exercise from each muscle group will be an S tier. Then obviously we have A, B, C, D, F. Hopefully you guys went to school, you guys understand how that works. F, bad, S, beautiful. Let's make it happen.
Bench press.
Alright, I'm going to say A, it's a hot take. Everyone loves the bench press. The only reason I'm not making it an S is because the incline bench press is just as effective, if not more. It targets more upper chest. It doesn't leave out the lower chest at all, and you get a deeper stretch at the bottom.
So I'm going S tier. This might be a bit of personal bias. I've been in love with the bench lately, but this is the #1 strength builder for chest. Obviously, like he said though, incline is a bit superior, but we'll get there when we get there.
Flat dumbbell.
Alright, so for me, flat dumbbell, it's going to be a little lower on the tier list than the bench press would be, just because I think, like John was saying, incline is a bit superior, and also with the flat bench, it's a bit more difficult to keep it up to yourself. As you get higher in weight, if you're pressing over the hundreds, you're probably going to need someone to pass that weight to you. You're going to need a spotter, whereas with the barbell bench press, you can kind of just make it happen, rip into it.
Yep, same reason that incline is superior, in my opinion. I do think that dumbbells have their place because it involves more stability, so it can carry over into your actual bench press, but gotta give it an A for this one.
Flat cable.
I'm actually going to give it a B. The flat cable is a very great exercise. The only reason it's not higher up on the list is because it's actually harder to put more load on it and progressively overload. So for that reason alone, we need to progressively overload to actually increase hypertrophy, but it is great carryover into the dumbbell and the barbell and helps with that stability side of things.
So I'm giving it an A to a similar reason that I gave dumbbell bench an A. It's a little bit difficult to set up. You gotta have the cable super low, gotta move the bench around, it's a little uncomfortable, and at the same time, it's an exercise that requires a lot of stability. I know when I have a client do this exercise, whether it's flat or incline cable, they struggle with stability a lot. They're shaking throughout the reps. Same thing, when I first started, I was shaking. So I was just giving an A for that reason, along with the reasons that he listed.
Flat Smith.
In between.
In between, all right.
B plus.
I'll let you go first.
I'm gonna say B plus because same reason, incline is superior. I do think that the Smith is very underrated though, because it actually is more stable, so you can load it up a little bit more. It can cause a little bit of shoulder impingement due to the bar path, so for that reason, gotta give it a B plus.
So the reason I'm going with the C is because of the reasons he said, and I also believe that there are just a lot better exercises that work, more of that middle chest. Obviously, you can't really isolate the muscles in the chest, but a flat movement like that, it's difficult to set up. One, it's uncomfortable, not a free range of motion. I'd rather just do chest press machine or a fly, or obviously the bench options we discussed previously.
Hex touch press.
Alright, so this is going to be my first one in F tier. I just think this exercise is extremely overrated. You're just kind of trying to isolate something that you're not really going to isolate. It's really not doing you any favors here. Just do normal dumbbell bench and then hang your triceps after, this is a waste of time, it's ineffective, and you're probably not going to be able to find a weight that challenges you enough in what you're looking for.
Yep, I 100% agree with you. The reason why it's in D and not F is because it's a safe exercise. It is somewhat effective. It's hard to progressively overload though, and the idea with it is that you're going to target that inner chest, but it doesn't target it any more than any other pressing movement. It actually is less hypertrophic because it leaves out that stretch part of the motion, and that's where you're going to get the most growth.
Incline Barbell.
I'm giving it an S. Like I said before, the incline barbell, you can load up the most compared to dumbbells. So you get that deeper stretch and you get more that upper chest and the same amount of lower chest. So I think it's the best exercise.
The only reason I'm not putting this in S is just from a beginner standpoint. It's a little bit difficult stability-wise. It feels a bit uncomfortable for a lot of people, so I'm knocking it down to A. But as soon as you get into that intermediate advanced tier, this becomes an S tier exercise quite easily.
Incline Smith.
I'm going to give it an A for this one. It's a great exercise. The only thing I would say is that I wouldn't recommend this for beginners because it can get you in an incorrect bar path, and I think that you need to establish your basics first with the regular barbell and dumbbell exercises. You get that deeper stretch, and it also, you can load it up more. You can feel the chest more with more weight because it's more stable, but overall, great exercise.
For me, I'm putting this in the S tier because I find a lot of my clients respond well to the control. It's difficult to have a client control any barbell exercise. You know, it's with the Smith machine, it's safe, they feel comfortable, easy to re-rack at any moment, and the setup's not that bad. And for incline, I think it's worth it, whereas for flat bench, I really don't think that's the case.
Incline Dumbbell.
So I'm going S tier. I mean, you really can't beat this. It offers the stretch component, come down on the outside compared to a barbell press where you're kind of pressed a little bit inside on the Smith depending on your dynamics and where you put your hands. And also it's great for building obviously strength. It's easy compared to the flat to keep up. It's right here, very easy, very sound, very hypertrophic.
Yep, I 100% agree. It's great because, for beginners especially, because you can train a failure without worrying about dropping the bar on you. You can get that great stretch with the incline, and it also carries over to the barbell movements greatly because it helps with that stability side of things. It is a little bit harder, but once you get the form down, it's great for hypertrophy.
Decline Barbell.
I'm going to give it an F, hot take, because this exercise is not very safe. A lot of people injure themselves from this because they have a hard time getting out of it if they fail. It also causes a lot of shoulder impingement, gets rid of the chest involvement with it due to the bar path. And also the regular flat barbell, it already targets the lower chest enough, so there's no extra benefit with it.
You know, the only reason I was going to put this in D at first was because I had thought that there was a lot more, you know, ridiculous chest exercises out there. The more I think about myself trying to perform this, the more frustrated I get. Because one, every decline bench is fixed. You can't really adjust it for height or anything. And then two, I mean, exactly what he said. It's pretty much just an exercise that people use to ego lift and throw out big numbers because the range of motion shit. And also, third, there is studies recently, shout out Dr. Mike, that suggest that you really are not building more of the lower chest with decline movements compared to your standard flat movements.
Decline Dumbbell.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a D. Same reasons for the barbell decline. It's a little bit more safe because you can drop it. That's the only reason it moved up from an F to a D. But for all the same reasons, it's not as effective as doing a regular flat bench.
The reason for me that this isn't an F and is in D instead is because it's a lot freer. The only caveat is when you do decline dumbbell, you need someone to hand you the weights. You can't get them yourself. So for that reason, I'm actually flipping right back to F. It's not worth it, waste of time.
Decline Cable.
Yeah, this one is an even worse version of the other two. For the same reasons, decline is not effective for the lower chest compared to regular flat benches. It's hard to load it up with any weight, which is kind of the whole point of why people do decline bench, is because they can ego lift it, put on more weight. So don't see a reason to use this.
Yeah, for me, it's pretty simple. I mean, what he said, along with good luck trying to set up decline cable anywhere. With most cable machines, you're not even going to be able to set up the bench because the cable does not go low enough. So good luck to anyone that wants to try this. Waste your time. Go for it.
Incline Smith.
This is the one decline I'm putting a D, only because it's a lot easier to set up and it feels a little sweeter than the rest of them, but it has no benefits just like the rest of them.
Yeah, same reason. I just think this is a worse version of the other ones. It's just gonna be an ego lift type of lift, and I don't see any benefits to it compared to any other lift.
Low to high flies.
I'm gonna say A on this one because it's one of the best isolations for the chest, and also a lot of people lack that upper chest side of things. Although the compound movements are more effective than isolations, I think this is one of the best ones. But actually, I'm gonna change my mind and change it to a B for that reason, because I think you should prioritize the compound movements before you consider this.
So for me, my reasoning, this might be a little bit of a hot take, but nearly all my experiences with low to high flies, whether it's me or a client or a friend that I suggest them to, most people feel these in their front shoulder more than anything. And I just believe so strongly in the incline exercises that we put in A and S tier that I feel like doing these is kind of a waste of time in a way where, you know, you're already hitting your incline movements, you're already focusing on that upper chest. I just feel like this isn't a great use of time if your workout is structured properly.
The one thing I would argue is that this is good for beginners because they tend to lack actually feeling the upper chest, and I also think that the actual angle matters more. I wouldn't put it all the way down to the floor, but moving it up a little bit, you'll get rid of that shoulder involvement. So I think it could help actually feel what you're trying to feel during those compound movements.
Yeah, so the one thing, like he said, the one thing that I would change, if this was like a flat but slightly low to high fly, this would be an A. I was kind of thinking the low to high fly in the context of like down by your knees, down by the ground.
Yeah, makes sense.
If you keep it relatively flat and you come from here to here instead of way down, you're just using all your shoulders. It's actually pretty sweet for the reasons you listed.
High to low flies.
All right, so the reason I'm giving this a B is because if you're doing this, I personally feel like you should do the variation that we're going to talk about very shortly, but it does feel pretty smooth. Not a lot of people will feel their shoulders during this movement. A lot of people will be able to have good mind-muscle connection with their chest on this, but you know, it is a tricky one because the studies have shown us that decline movements don't necessarily hit that lower chest, but at the same time, we also have seen studies that doing flies might work a part of the inner chest that you don't really see hit in other movements. So I'm conflicted, but I'm going to give it a B for now.
I'm going to give it a B minus C plus. The reason for that is because the compound movements already do target that lower chest a lot already, and I feel like a lot of people already kind of have that mind-muscle connection to the lower chest. It does get rid of that shoulder involvement more than the low to high fly movements, but I feel like that this would only be used if you feel like that you need more volume in that lower chest. But I do think that this is still a good exercise because you can get a deeper stretch with the flies and also can control that isolation on the chest.
Cable crossovers.
So for this feels great for me. I know the recent studies, I mean, again, I'm talking about studies, sort of nerd, right? But, you know, Jeff Nippard, the science community, was really into the stretch, but you can get a hell of a squeeze, deeper range of motion with the cable crossovers. And Nippard's study did not really show that the stretch was more important. So, you know, science weighting on this one, or whatever the hell I'm trying to say, you guys know what I mean. I'm giving this an A.
Yeah, this is a debated topic in the science community right now, if the stretch is really as important as we thought. I'm going to give it A minus, B plus range because this is one of the exercises where you can actually get a full contraction with the chest, and unlike any other chest exercise. So I think that has to be brought up because it gives benefits unlike any other exercise. you can get that full range of motion, the stretch and the contraction, and you can also isolate the chest better than pretty much any exercise in the gym.
Super stretch fly.
Putting this in my S tier personally. It's an exercise I feel great about. Every time I do it, it feels super sweet. Like we were just talking about, the stretch. If the stretch is the most important, this is the way to get it. Really get a deep stretch. Feels a lot better than flies, especially I recently had a pec contusion, so doing these really opened up my chest. Felt great mind-muscle connection with them. They're pretty sweet for hypertrophy. It's just a fly seated, so it's controlled, and you're getting a deep stretch. So what is there left on the table there?
Yeah, 100% agree. The only reason it isn't in S is because it's not a compound movement. I think that compounds are superior over any isolation. It is a great exercise though, because you can actually open up the chest with load, and that actually is shown in recent studies that does cause hypertrophy as well. And also you get most of the tension at the bottom part of the chest movements as well, so that you're actually working in the hardest part of the movement.
Dumbbell flies.
Yeah, I gave this one a C if we're talking about full dumbbell flies, because again, like I was talking about before, you lose that tension at the top of the movement and you're pretty much just taking a break. So I would just actually do pulse reps at the bottom, because you're going to be working harder and you can use less weight. And I just feel like it would be better to have the movement challenging throughout the whole movement and get that stretch part of the movement where it's most effective than to rest at the top.
Absolutely. Like you said, the resistance curve of a dumbbell is something not a lot of people consider. Like you said, you're essentially just taking a break at the top of the movement. And then for me, I'm going to knock this down a little lower than he had it, just because a lot of people have shoulder problems. And this is an exercise a lot of people struggle to feel good doing, I guess. I guess is what I'm trying to say. A lot of people feel pretty weird in the shoulders, feels a little uncomfortable for them. And for me, this also feels uncomfortable. I don't do these for a reason, so I'm knocking them down to D.
Chest press machine.
So the reason I'm going S, this obviously does depend on your gym, but a lot of chest press machines, they have that adjustment to make where you can get a deep stretch of the chest. It's very easy to overload, and it's very easy to push till failure, and also can get freaky with it, do some drop sets, do some myo reps, whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, that's a great point. I know that's a hot take, but I'm actually going to give it a C, because I think a lot of people, they do rely on the machines too much, and I would like to see more free weights, because they lack that stability and that proper bar path to feel the chest, and I feel like that they get too much shoulder involvement, but it also does depend on your gym if it actually gets the deep stretch on the machine. And I think a lot of people also will hit a lot of plateaus if they only focus on machines.
100%. So I will add to that. FitLab has an S tier chest press machine, but I've also been places that have F tier chest press machines. It really all depends on what type of chest press machine you're working with.
Pec Deck.
I think this might be one of the most overrated chest exercises out there. I mean, really, when it comes down to it, just do a fly. You have a free range of motion. You're not locked into place. You're not going to feel it as much in your shoulder. And a lot of Pec Deck machines, they honestly just feel like shit. The one at FitLab, I just hyped up their chest press machine so I can knock down their Pec Deck. I would say also, you really can't get as good of a stretch most of the time in this, but obviously it does depend on your machine.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I feel like a cable fly will just do the job a lot better than a Pec Deck. You're not going to get that full stretch, and you can also cross over like on a cable crossover. But I also feel that the resistance curve kind of gets rid of the tension when you squeeze at the end of it, and puts it more on the front delts, because you got to lean forward a little bit, and you got to kind of bring your shoulders back a little bit to feel that chest.
Push-ups.
Alright, so one reason I'm not putting this into S is it's super hard to overload. I mean, you get to a point where you can do so many push-ups that's just wasting your time. Once you can do like 30 push-ups at that point, it's not worth it unless you move it down in your exercise. But at the same time, this is really great for beginners, especially once they're already fatigued, to kind of dig deep and feel that, the progression of a press. So, for example, one of my clients, I'll put them through a chest workout, and then I'll have them do push-ups, and then since his muscles are fatigued, you can kind of feel the transition from chest to shoulder to tricep. And I think that's a really underrated benefit to these that not a lot of people talk about.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a B, although I do think that this is an S tier exercise for beginners because a lot of people, they don't feel comfortable going into the gym, I find, and starting at home gets their foot in the door with exercise, and that you can actually overload it pretty well in the beginning stages of things, but been training for a few months, a year or so, I think you got to drop it down a little bit because you can't really progress it unless you put some plates on your back, but then you got to have someone help and put those plates on your back, and then you can just switch over exercises if you're already in the gym, put up some plates in the bar. But overall, great exercise, no problems with it though.
Dips.
I'm going to give this one an S because you actually get a very, very deep stretch with the tris and the shoulders. Unlike any other exercise, it's very easy to overload, and you can also add plates as well. And it actually also increases flexibility in your shoulders and helps with the shoulder pain and impingement that people sometimes have from pressing movements.
So, like he said, it is great for improving mobility, but the only reason I'm not putting this in S tier is because a lot of people presently do not have the ability to do these with their mobility. So I would recommend an assisted dip. So if you are counting assisted dips in this category for people who cannot successfully perform a dip, then it's clearly S tier.
What's the best or most optimal exercise out of all these?
I'm going to say incline dumbbell because it's very easy to set up for beginners. You can load it pretty fast, and typically beginners, they progress pretty fast anyways, so those 5-pound jumps won't be too much to improve week to week. And you can also have greater control. It also helps with the stability and carries over to pretty much all your pressing movements without any pain and impingement.
I was going to say incline dumbbell as well, and he kind of smashed it with his reasoning, hit it out of the park. And like I said earlier, it's just a exercise that feels really sweet.
What's the worst exercise out of this list?
I'm going to say decline cable. Good luck setting that up. Like I said, if you can set that up, it's not even worth your time. And, most likely you can't even set it up, and it's going to feel like shit, especially because the angle, the cable's flat on the floor. You kind of need to press upwards away from you when you're doing decline, so it's going to feel like shit.
Pretty much the same one, but I'm going to say decline barbell because you can actually get injured with that, unlike cables, and at least cables you can have a little bit more control, you can drop the weight, but if you do fail on a decline, it's going to be a problem for you. It's hard to set up and actually get out of that position, and also it causes more pain, I find, due to the fixed bar path of holding an actual bar instead of having free weights.
That's going to do it for the video. Appreciate you guys watching. It's a pleasure to have Geekman on. We're going to be tapping into some more muscle groups. Next up's going to be back. Make sure you guys check out the merchandise, follow us on the gram, follow us on all socials, and obviously subscribe to the channel. And we're out. Make it happen. Bang.